Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and Bilderberg 2022 is going on right now somewhere in DC, with the prominent days, of course, being Friday and Saturday traditionally, and Sunday being the exit day where a lot of these people actually do leave early. But arrival was today, and if you've been watching this broadcast, you know that periodically over the last couple of months, I have done so on air, but gone to Bilderberg's official website, which was created about a decade plus ago at this point, where they would no longer deny that the group was, really meeting or of any kind of importance. It was like a golf club that you can go to for some time, right? And I watch the debunks now, and people say the Bilderberg group doesn't exist because it's different people every year. That's also a lie. There's an inner core of about 20 to 25 steering members, okay, that very, very rarely changes. So much so that Henry Kissinger is attending again this year, okay? And Jim Tucker, God bless him. We might actually see Tucker in the background of my film, Shade the Motion Picture, which we're going to be playing a small portion of from the beginning. Going back to 2012, is that somebody would get some information. And I've been asking around, where are they meeting? Okay? Where are they meeting? Guess what? They're meeting in D.C. And if I were in New York right now, I'd probably already be there. I probably would have packed up and I would have drove down about a 5-hour drive to D.C. and I'd be covering it right now. Okay? But as fate would have it, first of all, I live in Iowa, so that's like a good 14, 15-hour drive. It'd be nightmarish to go fly in and out, and really not feasible with all my gear, etc., to get things done. Okay, I'm very, very pissed. But they literally didn't put this online until today, and it was from a tip. Okay, a tip, because I had mused about the fact that in 2012, this is me 10 years ago with Dan Dix of Press for Truth outside, and you see a large presence. And this is in Chantilly, Virginia, just outside of D.C. Okay, I'd be there. I'd be there right now covering it because I think it's really of the utmost importance. This is really the true power structure. And when you see the names that are there this year, we're going to go through every single one of them. We're going to highlight some of them. And we're also going to highlight what their agenda is, or at least their public agenda, because one of the things that I have been highlighting again and again and again and again is that they start talking about the post-truth world in 2018. Okay, the post-truth world was on the agenda. 2019 is their final Bilderberg meeting until today. And if there are any independent journalists out there worth their salt, I hope that you are in D.C. trying to figure out exactly where this meeting is taking place. And sometimes there are off-brand private meetings with other people in that D.C. military-industrial complex universe. If you don't think the military-industrial complex is represented, you got the head of the CIA there right now. NATO's all up and representative. We got plenty of media. It's all here. We're going to go through all of it. Okay. So before we get going, and again, first time since the pandemic, and they drop in DC, and no one seemed to know about it. Paul Joseph Watson, CEO of Pfizer, head of the CIA, director of the NSC, that's the National Security Council, VP of Facebook, the King of Holland, and the Secretary General of NATO are all meeting right now behind closed doors in DC. No one's talked about it. No, nobody reported on it. And when we're going to go down these key topics, which are on their own website, but they admittedly do not allow media. That is not how an open society works. There are Chatham House rules where you speak freely and no one is to discuss what goes on there. Okay? So before we get going, and we're going to gear it up, I need you to thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. If you're new here on YouTube or watching on YouTube, I want to let you know, guys, they've cut my viewership to almost nothing. I have 67,000 subscribers here. We got less than 100 viewers watching on a live stream right now. It's been going 5 minutes. That's how much they've cut my reach. Okay, they censor me. They take me off. They say I'm harmful content because I discuss controversial issues. That's why we have Rockfin. Okay, so Rockfin, almost 57,000 strong. You can follow me there for free. Make the free account. You can also support me by subscribing $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. You get everybody else's content. But we got RSS feeds going. We're on Podbean. I'm investing in this because I want more people to understand the importance of Bilderberg and how it's out in the open. I mean, the one that stands out the most, the subject they're talking about, is continuity of government and the economy, which we'll get to in a moment. But we're rumbling. We're rumbling too. So thumbs it up, subscribe, share, get to rumbling. If you really want to support me, buy me a coffee. Links are below, but we're going to be showing 2 parts of my films. So you're going to get a part of Invisible Empire and a part of Shade the Motion Picture because they're relevant today, 2010, 2013. And you know what? Understanding 9/11 is relevant to understanding where we are today as well. So the other 2 films, also really important. Not asking for your money there. I'm asking you to watch them, source them, cite them, share them. All right. Now, what you've come for, okay? So let's get into it. Here we go. Let's go down the line here. Paul, and I'm probably going to butcher a bunch of these names. Achleitner, and he is the former chairman, supervisory board of Deutsche Bank AG, treasurer of the Bilderberg meetings. Huh. You know, let's just bring it real nice and big so we can really just get right into it. Adewale Adeyemo, Deputy Secretary, Department of the Treasury. So again, all these government positions, military-industrial complex positions, international positions, all this stuff. All right? We got Jose Manuel Alvarez, Minister of Foreign Affairs, European Union, and Cooperation. You see why this is? Does anybody not get why this is important? No one covering this. Again, if U.S. officials go to this is where you should induce the Logan Act, right? Not go after General Flynn. This is treasonous, and I've been saying it for well over a decade. This should not exist. All right? Period. Roger C. Altman, founder and senior chairman of Evercore Inc. I'm not even sure what Evercore Inc. is. Should we do it? Let's do it live. We'll do it live, guys. Evercore Inc. Evercore is a premier global independent investment banking advisory firm. Lots of banking in there. I'm so glad that the COG, which is a code word for the shadow government, you want to talk about what the real deep state is, the continuity of government program is that real deep state. You get it? You understand it? So bankers and the deep state apparatus secretly meeting, not a media outlet at all covering this. Up until today, and, you know, props for the Gateway Pundit for doing this article. But again, not anybody in the mainstream media had any idea where this was going on. And I guarantee you, had, you know, somebody like Alex Jones known about it and amplified it, and it was in D.C., there would be thousands of people, maybe even tens of thousands of people protesting it in D.C. Because a lot of the people get it, okay? They know what this is really all about. So let's keep going down the line. All right? Sam Altman, CEO, OpenAI. OpenAI. Again, we're talking about on this program artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and quantum computing a lot lately. Why? Take a good look. Take a good look. And now you have The Atlantic here, Ann Applebaum, a staff writer. They're media stooges and toadies, okay? And here she is right here with her book, Twilight of Democracy, The Seductive Lure of Authoritarianism. Oh, the twilight. We're in the twilight. Now, admittedly, I haven't read this trash, but I promise you, if she is at Bilderberg 2022 right now in D.C., she's going to be peddling a lot of influence on behalf of their quote-unquote post-truth world. I promise you that. Jose Luis Arnott, managing partner, CMS, Rue Pena and Arnott. Let's see what we got. Ida Akan, a member of parliament, the Social Democrat Party. Okay, that's, it looks like DNK, I would assume that's Denmark. Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO. James H. Baker, Director of the Office of Net Assessment, Office of the Secretary of Defense. Again, Defense Department. James H. Baker, he's here. You getting it? You see why this is a big one? It's a big one. Let's see. Patricia Barbizet, Chairman and CEO, Tamari and Associates. Let's see. Jose Manuel Barroso, Chairman, Goldman Sachs International. Wouldn't be a Bilderberg without some Goldman Sachs representation, if you know what I'm saying. Valerie Baudson, CEO, Amundi. Ben van Beurden, CEO, Shell PIC. I would assume that's Shell Gas. I could be wrong. There's our buddy, Albert Barea. He's Chairman, CEO of Pfizer. You know that guy. Come on. Everybody knows him by now. He's out in a boot. Okay. He last week, he's Klaus Daddian. Just a week ago, him and Klausen Schlaus, they get to have a nice little Klausen conversation. A little Klaus Nutschwab action right here. 33 minutes. You can go watch it. And we love him. He's a great man. And don't worry, post-pandemic health is also on the agenda for Bilderberg this year after we get through the list. Thumbs it up, subscribe and share, and remember all those alt platforms and how you can support this broadcast. We want to thank people that are already tipping over at Rockfin, including Tom. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate that. Thomas Buberl, CEO, AXA, SA, William J. Burns. He's the director of the CIA. I love the CIA. The CIA is just tops with me. They're good thing he's there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, pow, 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 pa-chow. Very, very happy that all these people are meeting in secret. And it sucks, man. I was about to go on air earlier today, if you watched the broadcast, basically talking geopolitics, NATO, Zombie J, a.k.a. Joe Biden, and the clearly, embarrassingly puppeteered administration that is driving our country, which is already hanging on by a thread, what was left of a constitutional republic, into this quote-unquote post-truth world, great reset, really repackaged New World Order agenda. Okay? That's where we're at. Oh, Thomas Byrne, Minister of State for European Affairs. Kurt Campbell, White House Coordinator for Indo-Pacific. And they're talking about geopolitical realignments. That's also on the agenda that we're going to get to. Mark J. Carney, Vice Chair, Brookfield Asset Management. Great. Pablo Casado, former president, Partido Popular. Excuse me. Turin Shinabra, Senior Director of Technology and National Security on the National Security Council. And we've been talking a lot about technology and national security and, highlighting that very important document right here. Oh, boy, that says some pretty crazy things. From NASA, which is a future strategic warfare document circa 2025, right? About 2.5 years away from that actual date, which accurately predicts almost all of these technologies they're talking about and more all the way back in 2001. Just a thought, Bushnell, who wrote that document, still the chief scientist over at NASA, been around since the Gemini days, pre-Apollo, weaponized satellite systems, automation, all sorts of goody technology. Really should read that one if you haven't. And if you haven't seen my other work on the Musker Do and all that, again, worth watching, guys. So let's continue down the line. We don't want to miss anybody. Pascal Donahue, or is that Donahue? I don't know. Minister of Finance, President, Eurogroup. Matthias Dopner. Dopner's been there before. In fact, I specifically remember Luke Radowski getting Dopner. Luke has gotten so many people. I texted him. It was funny. I didn't realize it, but he thought Bilderberg he tweeted out Bilderberg's apparently not meeting this year about 25 hours ago. You know, and I would have thought that he would have had a beat on it because he's been the man also. And props to Luke Radowski for everything he's done to exposing these people. Chairman and CEO Axel Springer, SE. William C. Dudley, Senior Research Scholar, Princeton University. Jen Easterly, Director, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Elizabeth Economy. You almost think that like it's a joke. Senior Advisor for China at the Department of Commerce. China's on the list too. China, Russia, Ukraine. China, Russia, Ukraine. Right? Take a good look at what you're looking at here, guys. This is the military-industrial complex. This is the predator-class compartmentalized infrastructure. And again, most of these people, they're not there every year. They're not there every year. There's a few that are. Old Petey Thiel's on the list. Eric Schmidt, and like I said, the man himself, Kissinger. But we'll get there. We'll go down the line, okay? So we got Bernard Ernay, Director General, Ministry of the Armed Forces. Yeah, I mean, no big deal. Just armed forces, bankers getting together, nothing big. Charles Emmons, CEO, CDPQ. Amir Erdogan, Professor, Political Science, Istanbul, Boğaziçi University. I wonder what Erdogan is pushing. I feel like I've heard the name. I wonder if he's one of these techie transhumanists. I could be very, very wrong. But somebody maybe in the comments, let me know. Ovion Eriksson, President and CEO, Anchor ASA. Sergio Ermati, Chairman Swiss RE. I would imagine that's a banking establishment. Could get that wrong. Hey, I don't know it all, guys. Yahya Fanusi, Adjunct Senior Fellow, Center for the New American Security. That's great. That New American Security. I hear it's a lot like Deutschland Security, if you know what I'm saying. That's built off of Homeland Security. Editor-in-Chief Domani Stefano Feltri. We got Jeremy Fleming, Director, British Government Communications Headquarters. Let's see. Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. Yeah, and hey, Canada's doing great, right? We love Canada's authoritarianism. We love what Canada's doing with disarming their citizens. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for Canada. I'm glad the Deputy Prime Minister is going to be there. Fantastic. TMG Automotive, Isabel Furtado. We got Michael Gove, Secretary of State of Leveling Up Cabinet Office. What is the Leveling Up Cabinet Office? That's a weird thing. Interesting. Unaware of that one. So this is the co-chair of the Bilderberg meetings, Professor of Economics, Leiden University, Victor Halberstadt. So I really, you know what? He's a co-chair. Maybe we should look into Victor. Victor needs some more highlight time, don't you think? Lena Hallengren, Minister for Health and Social Affairs. We got Ralph Hamers, CEO, UBS Group AG. Demis Hassabis, CEO and founder, DeepMind. Oh, DeepMind. Oh, look at that. More AI. More transhumanism. Why, oh, why do I focus on it so much, folks? I think you're starting to get why. Pretty evident. Look who they're hanging out with. Look what's going on. Connie Hedegaard, the chair of the KR Foundation. Mary Kay Henry, International President, Surface Employee International Union. Melody Hobson, co-CEO and president, Ariel Investments, LLC. Ben Hodges, Pershing Chair in Strategic Studies, Center for European Policy Analysis. Wapoke Hoekstra, I probably butchered that, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs looks like in the Netherlands. Okay. Reid Hoffman, co-founder, Inflection AI, partner in Greylock. Oh, look, more artificial intelligence representation. What can you say, right? They told you the bio-nano era started in 2020 via that Future Strategic Warfare document. We're 2.5 years deep now. We're on our way to the virtual era. The nanozation of everything. Automation. Robotization. And transhumanism. And they're making their reps here, boy. They sure are. Jean-Marc Hewitt, Chairman Heineken NV. Let's see. Shosh Hank Josie, defense editor at The Economist. Oh, nice. Nice. So we got more media representation. Oh, and look at this. Peter Thiel's baby, Palantir Technologies. Okay, and Peter Thiel, he's one of those guys. He's big time, all right? Alex Karp. And by the way, you can see right there that Henry Kissinger has made his day again. Man, Kissinger out 99, and he's out there. You know, maybe he's going to fight with the Atlantic over what he said. We covered that via the Ukraine. They should just give up. Who knew I would agree with something Henry Kissinger said in the twilight of his life. Omar Koch, Chairman Koch Holdings. Michael Kaufman, Director, Russia Studies Program, Center for Naval Analysis. Washington Kostreva, President, Polish Business Roundtable. Martin Krasnick, Editor-in-Chief, Weekend Division. I would imagine that also is another media publication. Henry R. Kravis, Co-Chairman, KKR and Company, Inc. All right. Marie Jose Kravis, another co-chair, Bilderberg of meeting right there. Chair of the Museum of Modern Art. Now, isn't that interesting? And you talk about the CIA and what modern art was really all about. And it was about promoting these things as a part of their mass mind control and social engineering programs that are a reality. Okay? That aren't made up. That are documented. That we know only a fraction of. And you know, another group of people I was texting with today about Bilderberg, and again, we're going to get into their agenda list, and then we're going to play some parts of Invisible Empire, New World Order, and Shade the Motion Picture. Okay? We're Truth Stream Media, Aaron and Melissa Dykes. And again, when they saw the shadow government, aka continuity of government, and the economy is on the agenda, it's like, whoa! Whoa! Okay. So Andrei Kadelsky, Chairman and CEO, Kadelsky Group. Jorg Kukes, and this is the Deutsch, so I'm going to say the Dutch State Secretary and Chancellery. Let's see. David Lammy, the Shadow Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Affairs, House of Commons. I mean, these are heavy hitters, guys. Jan LeCun, Vice President and Chief AI Scientist of Facebook. Oh! So we got more AI, and now we got Facebook in the mix. Livia Liu, State Secretary, Federal Department of Foreign Affairs. Thomas Layson, Chairman, Umicore, and Metahuse, Chairman, DSM, Nevada. Let's see. Aki Lakanian, Chairman, IFRS Foundation Trustees. Look at all these investment firms. Mark Little, President and CEO, Suncor Energy. Bernard Looney, CEO, BP. Okay, so we got Shell, we got BP, we got Suncor Energy. Martin Lundstedt, CEO and President, Volvo. Okay. Tobias Lutke, CEO, Shopify. Oh, we got a little tele-shopping in there. The Shopify people coming in. Maybe they want a Bezos alternative. Sanna Marin, Prime Minister of Finland. Oksana Markarova, Ambassador of Ukraine to the U.S. And big time, Ukraine is on the list. Let's see. Bete Mene Rezinger, party leader, Neos. I don't know. Charles Michael, President, European Council. Zany Minion Bedos, Editor-in-Chief, The Economist. So again, we got a lot of economist representation in there. That's, you know, again, and the topic of continuity of government and the economy. And then you also have representatives that are in defense positions, right? Editors of defense. And obviously, if you're talking about continuity of government, it becomes a national security issue. Interesting. Let's see. Zanny Minton Bedeos, Editor-in-Chief. Oh, I just said that. Michael Mullen, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Lovely. I know Michael Mullen. I remember Michael. I remember you, Michael. I was never your biggest fan. Interesting that you're there. You know, David Petraeus is there too, though. But you know what? Petraeus is, again, one of those inner circle members that's been there kind of every year. He's definitely on the board. They don't put down the board members, you know? And they probably try to make it kind of goofy that it's a professor and the person at the Modern Art that are the co-chairs. Come on. Just want to put that out there as well. Craig J. Mundy, President Mundy and Associates. HM, the King of the Netherlands. Lovely. Great, yes. I love that we have royalty in 2022 and they get to meet in secret with the military-industrial complex and the media. And no media is allowed to cover it. Really makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Huh? Let's see. Caius Nemeni, the senior editor-in-chief, Helsingen, Sanomat newspaper, some more media. A lot of media this year. Carlos Nunez, executive chairman, Prism Media. Okay. Michael O'Leary, Rainier Group, CEO of that. Dimitri Papalexopoulos, or Polis, chairman, Titan Cement Group. Here's Petraeus right here. David Petraeus himself, chairman, KKR Global Institute. Kyriakis, man, Pierakakakis, man, that's a tough one. Minister of Digital Governance. Minister of Digital Governance. That's in Greece. A minister of yuck. So that's basically the digital ministry of truth, right? Overall, on top of everything, especially the way everything's gone. Minister of Digital Governance. Yikes. Anna Pino, President and CEO, Servalis Foundation. Patrick Poyane, Chairman and CEO, Total Energies SE. Gideon Rackman, Chief Foreign Affairs Commentator, The Financial Times. Okay, so again, here we go, more media. We got the Secretary of Commerce for the United States, Gina Raimondo, is there. Interesting. Let's see. Board member and investor at AB, Grace Laxton Skogen. Mithat Rende, member of the board, TSKB. Didier Rendiers, European Commission for Justice. Mark Rutte, the Netherlands Prime Minister. So, yeah, I mean, again, prime ministers are here. Heads of intelligence, AI, just great stuff. Co-founder and CEO of TIMWE, Diogi Salvi. John Sawyers, Executive Chairman, Newbridge Advisory. Nadia Shadlow, Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute. You know, hey, we talked about Herman Kahn and the Hudson Institute, and Herman Kahn had some really interesting things to say that were incredibly accurate via the Hudson Institute. Eric Schmidt, and we just skipped over Margaritis Shinas, the Vice President of the European Commission. Again, a big deal. But Eric Schmidt, author of The New Digital Age, former CEO and Chairman Google LLC, very much at the Bilderberg Group and part of that steering committee and that inner core of the group. Okay? Kevin Scott, CTO of Microsoft. Nuno Sebastiano, CEO Fidze. Mark Sedwell, Chairman of Atlantic Futures Forum. Okay? Radoslaw Sikorski, MEP, European Parliament. That's out of Poland. We got, this is interesting. Always keep an eye on the senators that are there, or congressmen. Kristen, let's look her up right now. Sinema, USA Senator. Why is she important? Krista Sinema. Let's see. Oh, no, I got that wrong. Senator. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I know who she is. I think. Yeah, so she's the new gender transition, hip, cool, like Gen X to millennial person. That's why she's important. Because she's the next one they want to promote big time, like who? Like Ocasio-Cortez. She's the next step in their little brainwashing program of transhumanism, because that's what this is really about, right? And changing the culture. So there she is. Okay? That's interesting that they chose her. Not really. I guess kind of par for the course. So let's continue on. Let's keep going down the line here, guys. Let's see. Francisco Stasarse, CEO, Enel, SPA. Constance Stells Muller, Fritz Stern Chair, the Brookings Institution. Lovely. We got the Secretary of General of NATO there, Jens Stoltenberg. I mean, again, heavy hitters. Heavy hitters. Trin van Straten. It looks like the Minister of Energy. I don't want to get that one wrong. Mustafa Suleyman, CEO, Inflection AI. More artificial intelligence. Jake Sullivan, the director of the National Security Council. More military-industrial complex. Ashley T. Tellis, Tata Chair for Strategic Affairs, Carnegie Endowment, Hudson Institute, Brookings Institution. These are the players, man. These are the little apparatuses that allow for these agendas to go forth. And it's been going on a long time. We're going to talk about the history of the Bilderberg Group in a bit. Okay, this is a long one, so we buckling up, thumbs it up, subscribe and share, and go into all the alternative platforms. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because here it is. It's the man himself, Peter Thiel, Thiel Capital. Okay? And, that wasn't the one I wanted. I wanted the one where him and the Musker Do are together. Where is that? Did I get rid of that? Did I finally get rid of them together at PayPal? I might have. So, I wanted to show Peter Thiel and him and Musk, basically the PayPal bros, right? Good for them. They're just the best. Let's see, is there any, but really, if you look at it, we did this yesterday, how the CIA made Google, and Peter Thiel just happens to just show up everywhere. Facebook, Thiel, he's the president's technology advisor. We get into Thiel a bit more in Shade the Motion Picture all the way back in 2013 when I put it out. So Thiel is old school. He's one of the movers and shakers. He's, again, actual inner core Bilderberg. Okay? And he's one of these guys that's very much like Musk at times, portrayed as some kind of hero. He speaks at the Bitcoin conference. Look what they want to do with blockchain technology against us. It's not good news. It's bad news brown. Okay? We have to understand that. Be real about it. And did Peter Thiel come out, for Donnie T post-election in any way? I'm not going to say anything about elections and their integrity, but did he? Think about that. Should he have? Question you'll have to ask yourself. We're on YouTube. Andreas Triacci, President, Chairman, Erste Foundation. Tom Tagandi, MP, Chair, Foreign Affairs Committee, House of Commons. Marcos Veremes, Co-founder and Chair, Upstream. Yuri Vetranov, CEO, Navigaz. Celeste Wallander, Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs. So again, more military-industrial complex USA representation. Marcus Wallenberg, Chair, Skandinavs Endesk Banken, more banks. Okay. You got to love when GlaxoSmithKline is in there. Emma Welmsley. Let's see. She's the CEO. Peter Wenick, President and CEO, ASML Holding. Murat Yelkin, journalist and writer. And Asfrin Yudarsky, journalist for Haberast News Network. And that is the official list. Who knows if there are more. So, you can see here that they're just saying Washington, D.C. Really upsets me that we couldn't figure it out. Geopolitical realignments, NATO challenges, China, Indo-Pacific realignment, Sino-U.S. tech competition, Russia, continuity of government and the economy. And that's where we're going to take a little dipski and hutch. And yesterday we showed some footage via the film Invisible Empire in relation to John Hinckley now being a totally 100% free man. And here is the continuation of that in my film Invisible Empire, where we talk about George Bush, George H.W. Bush, and his relation to the shadow government, the continuity of government program.
While Reagan led the nation in the public eye, Bush exploited his power through the largely unknown Continuity of Government Directive.
In the United States federal government, there is a super secret agency which controls this shadow government.
The National Program Office allowed Bush and his network to attain executive emergency powers.
Ronald Reagan authorized the National Program Office when he signed a top-secret directive in 1982. Oliver North was one of the key officers responsible for the program's startup.
So let's talk about this for a second. They make these organizations the National Programs Office. It sounds like nothing. Oh, wow, well, there's programs. Good thing we have an office for it. It's just like the Department of Energy. And then you find out some of the horrors that the Department of Energy was responsible for, as a front for, in human experimentation and beyond. I'm just going to leave it right there. Think about what the NPO has done. And the NPO is the precursor to all this 9/11 legislation, right? In which you not only have the Patriot Act, right? But you have the emergency use authorization, right? And you get so many other things from that, including Deutschland security. You get Homeland Security, which was always aimed at the American people. And from there, you can expand even further into these fusion centers and now what is known as an art form in signature reduction. Okay? For over a decade. That's the reality. 60,000 people belong to signature reduction. Some in uniform, some in not. Okay? Some people who are, I don't know, part of corporations you hear about every day, some of them household name companies. And they're not beholden to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or any kind of checks and balances whatsoever. It's a complete and total violation of posse comitatus, and it's a tool of the military-industrial complex via the CIA, the NSA, and others. All right? And it starts with something known as the National Programs Office and continuity of government.
Under the NPO's direction, 4 agencies were charged with execution of the Doomsday Plan. The CIA, the Departments of State and Defense, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
An effort was being made to consolidate continuity of government programs across several major departments of the government under one office.
After 8 years of secret wars, covertly sponsored revolution and assassination had advanced globalist interests and allowed Bush to achieve his lifelong dream by becoming the 43rd president of the United States. The fall of the Soviet Union left the United States as the sole superpower in the world.
For now. Now, all these guys come in. I have a larger section on the continuity of government program in my film Fabled Enemies, which we're not going to get to as much because I wanted to play really part of Shade the Motion Picture. Because Shade the Motion Picture, we start out and we'll skip through, the Johnny nonsense in the very beginning. But being at Bilderberg 2012, okay, exposing this organization and then giving you a history lesson on it. So let's play this right now. Let's get it to the point where we can start it off with my man, who I really do care about and I love very much. Well, it's Jordan Maxwell. Let's let him intro it because Jordan Maxwell does a hell of a job in this film as he did throughout his career.
The one thing I will say that the past 50 years has given me, I would say that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does. There's a far higher, bigger picture.
All right, we're at the airport. We're going to be getting ready to go through TSA. Well, we're at TSA right now, just as I figured they're searching my bag as we speak. Welcome to America. We just drove through the Westfields Marriott. We made the loop right by the hotel entrance. Actually went onto the property.
And this is the hotel where it's all going to occur.
The globalists are incredibly dangerous. The status quo means giving into eugenics, death, and world government.
The only way we can get back our freedoms is by fighting the oppressors, and the oppressors are here.
You are scum! You are scum! You are scum! You are scum! Kiss the dirt! Kiss the dirt! We know! Kiss the dirt!
I mean, it is incredible. Incredible that Kissinger is there a decade later. A decade later. He was 89 years old when he rolled by us right there. And look how many people are out there. And this year, utter silence. And again, I'm super disappointed that I will not be covering this on the ground.
One thing that I'm here to do is to provide a service that the mainstream media is not doing.
A lot of the press is owned by some of the attendees inside of here.
Instead of just harping on them and begging them to cover this, screw it. We are the new mainstream media.
The people inside basically set the agendas and tell them not to report on it.
We are here. We are documenting everything live.
And the fake! And the fake! And the fake!
Uncut, unedited.
All right, we're at the Bilderberg conference, and the police are getting kind of weird.
This is what we're reduced to. I mean, it's just trying to catch glimpses of people in, hiding behind the Financial Times in the back of their limo, which is, it's not great.
And they will be defeated, and they know it, and they're starting to run scared, and they should be, because information is power. And the truth is setting us free.
Again, I just feel like, had we known where it was, we could have had thousands of people out in D.C. right now. What is the Bilderberg Group? Well, let's find out.
In 1954, a group of industrialists, political elites, and even royalty set out to form an organization that would essentially pull the strings of society from behind the scenes.
The Bilderberg Group is a group of world leaders, CEOs, heads of banking institutions that meet every year and decide what's going to happen throughout that next year.
The media has largely ignored this organization over the past 50-plus years, and even today, when it is mentioned, it's mentioned in a manner in which you shouldn't be asking about it.
Not everyone in the media, however, is in on it.
Of course not. I mean, think about this. Nobody in the media even seeked this story out at all in 2022. Well, a lot of the mainstream media in conservative realms are talking about the Great Reset, right? They're talking about the globalist agenda. Well, how can you talk about those things without talking about this? I mean, I would say that thanks to a tip of one of my Facebook friends, I am probably maybe the first of 5 people in the alternative media that even touched this thing. I'm pretty sure I broke it on my last video. I wasn't even sure it was really in D.C. Wow. Wow. Think about how relevant this is. Shade the Motion Picture, free right now, pinned to my rock pin. I want you to share it over on Rumble. Make the link go viral on Rumble. Here we go.
It's kind of this sense that they get of what not to talk about, what may be considered to be taboo.
Well, I'm here in my capacity as a journalist, covering it for this event for the London Guardian.
I remember you were sent down here, like 2 or 3 years ago to Bilderberg for the first time?
2009. And, so I thought it'd be funny, you know. I said, you know, no one covers this, maybe I should go along and maybe it'll be a laugh. And it turned into an absolute nightmare. I got chased around Athens and ended up wrestling a secret policeman and subway station. It was mental.
Because the mainstream media in the United States has never covered it until now. Running Guardian for 4 years overseas really started breaking it. That was a big deal when you guys were covering it 4 years ago with Charlie Skelton. At first, a little bit laughing, but then he got arrested. Well, this is really real. And media said it didn't exist to him. So it's the fact that they play that Jedi mind trick. This doesn't exist. You know, these limousines. And New York Times says, no, there's another one.
So again, think about that Jedi mind trick and how that was really amplified throughout this COVID-19 84. And let's look at it again, because the agenda continues on over here to post-pandemic health. Energy security and sustainability, disinformation. Forget about just disruption of the global financial system and that continuity of government, that shadow government we talked about. Fragmentation of democratic societies, trade and deglobalization. So you got Ukraine, Russia, China, NATO challenges, global realignments. You got the disinformation train. You got post-pandemic health, where a bunch of these people are talking about new securities, less freedoms, the Internet of Bodies. And the Bilderberg Group is that anchor core of tech globalization. Thiel's there for a reason. Palantir's there for a reason. Facebook AI is there for a reason. CIA is there for a reason. National Security Council's there for a reason. So let's continue on through this. And remember, you can watch the whole entire film free of charge right here. It's pinned right to the front. And when you watch it on YouTube, great. We got a whole list of movies. You want to support me again, I give them away for free. Buy me a coffee. It's down below. Make that Rockfin subscription. Help me out, Tipski and Hutchski. And by the way, thank you so much for those that did buy me a coffee already today. Anthony, Wendy, and Luke. And I believe Anthony also supported me via Rockfin just a moment ago. So let's keep going down the line and learn a little bit more about Bilderberg.
Mainstream media is now acknowledging that these world leaders are meeting, except for there's nothing to worry about. They're not doing anything sinister, even though they meet behind closed doors.
Instead of being humble and saying, you know, I don't know the whole truth, we never do as journalists, all we could do is try to ask questions and do our research. And that's very important for journalists to do. To act like you know everything and to act like what you know is the most important thing is pretty much the attitude of the mainstream media.
They kind of just sit there and repeat what it is being shown on the television screen rather than thinking for themselves.
We've been programmed to believe certain things. We've been programmed to, when we hear certain buzzwords, we immediately close ourselves off to that information.
The guys in here who are deciding on foreign policy, these are the people who are setting the price of gold, setting the price of oil, deciding who's going to be presidents, who's going to be prime ministers. They operate in the shadows. They do not want to be seen. They don't want anybody to know that they are here.
One of the Bilderberg members.
There's Jim Tucker. So, while Alex Jones talks, right here, the man in the hat. Jim Tucker is a pioneer. He was the first one to delve deep into this group that once again began in 1954. And he deserves every independent journalist's respect. This was a hard-nosed guy that had sources inside that would break before Bilderberg had a website. And again, I cannot tell you how angry I am that they didn't release where this was going to be even in days before. Jim Tucker would have had it 2 weeks ago. Rest his soul. Thank you, Jim Tucker. So let's go back to Alex Jones here at Bilderberg 2012.
The regulators over this publicly has called for internet ID so they can start the taxing of that and the tracking. That's what China uses.
You know, we just drove up to the security now in press. We showed up press cards and said, can you show us to the press center? And yeah, no, there's no press center. Can we speak to someone who could represent the organization to the press? No, that's not available. They're resolutely failing to nurture any kind of proper and grown-up relationship with the press, which is just kind of lame.
The people of the planet are waking up and getting past the puppets. This is about saying, hey, the puppets in D.C. are just front men.
The powerful elite hide behind the curtain of government. They hide behind the wall, the facade of government. And really, they're just a tiny dot that control the masses.
These are the shadow masters. These are the people that actually decide who runs and wins in office.
Tony Blair, 2 years before he came from nowhere to become prime minister, was here and basically certified. Bill Clinton, little-known governor, comes here in 91, boom, fast-tracked. If they like it, it's on. Countless others, John Edwards, Gordon Brown, John Kerry. Obama was here 4 years ago. We talked to our sources inside, it was songed.
And by the way, there's a large section on how Obama in 2008, when the Bilderberg group was meeting in Chantilly, Virginia, and I got to be honest, I don't think they meet in the United States outside of D.C., at least not in my generation's time. As far as I know, I'd have to really look through all their meetings, but they're at that power center for a reason, and Robert Gibbs, at the time, who had to address the media, said he was in these secret meetings, and then they thought he was at Hillary Clinton's house, and they went there. So that's why Invisible Empire is important to this day. That's why we're watching Shade the Motion Picture right now, because these issues are still what? Extremely relevant.
We're big on talking about how we can elect our leaders. Yes, we can elect our leaders, but you can't select your leaders. You don't select anyone. Your masters who own you will select who will run. That's all they wanted to know. Just which one do you like best? It doesn't mean much of anything.
The rule of the few, oligarchy, is on the whole the most common in human history.
Why should you care?
Through a long legacy, incrementalism, and perseverance, the globalists have managed to sprinkle their people in, essentially salt their people into various governmental positions worldwide.
They plan.
And by the way, you notice that that's the same kind of thing that Klaus Schwab brags about, seeding his people into all these, his young global leaders, penetrating cabinets. All right? Same idea with these other roundtable organizations. And, again, you can watch my interview with Johnny Vedmore, but I think you should read his piece on the origin of the World Economic Forum and people like Herman Kahn and Galbraith, and of course Henry Kissinger, who is at that core membership of Bilderberg, being at the forefront of that as well, pulling the strings from behind the curtain.
And wars, they plan money inflation, they plan deflation.
My estimate is there are about 30 million Americans who really need a job and who can't get one. So, depression level. This is depression.
Well, I'll tell you right now, again, those are numbers from a decade ago, but right now, things are kind of crazy. We're in a weird entitlement society. It's probably more than that.
This is as bad or worse than the depression of the 1930s.
They plan collapses. They plan takeovers of rogue nations.
They want an organized, controlled system where humans are manipulated. They want the resources controlled by tiny oligarchical elite.
Superman in one of the movies said he stands for the American way, freedom, liberty, and justice for all. Well, I like what Dick Gregory said. You're no longer free or brave. You might want to, for the first time in your life, start thinking seriously about where you're going and where your country is going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you wake up one day to discover your freedoms are gone, your country is gone, your protections that were guaranteed to you as a citizen are gone.
Well, it's out.
Like today, Zombie J literally said that none of the rights in the Constitution were absolute. He said that. Now, Zombie J runs nothing whatsoever. But the fact the establishment is now putting that into the ethos is alarming. Okay?
Outrageous. Our government's been taken over by the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address in '61. Our money's being taken. They're announcing 30,000 drones, armed drones, to surveil us. The CIA says they're listening to our phones now without warrants.
The real leaders are going to talk now. Mommy and Daddy are going to talk now.
The grown-ups are in the room. I don't know, guys. You think that maybe Shade was ahead of its time? my last documentary film, one of my best works. If you haven't seen it, please watch it and share it.
And when they come out of the meeting, it's always wars, economic despair, and eugenics. I haven't seen anything good come out of the Bilderberg Group.
As the global elite are escalating their agendas, we have to equally bring up our efforts to document these events, cover these events, and make sure that the Bilderberg Group gets exposed for what they're doing inside there.
The mainstream media has become less and less relevant over the years and will continue to become less and less relevant as technology emerges for you and me to bring this information to the masses, to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions.
And that's the truth. And that's why they need to take hold of the great narrative via the Great Reset agenda, via COVID-1984 and Trojan horse civilian systems, such as the one many of you watching on right now, YouTube, which is a part of Google, which is a part of Alphabet, which is partnered with what? Google, NASA, NSA, DARPA, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. You get it? You understand? So yeah, I'm still utilizing technology 100%. How much more a decade later irrelevant is the mainstream media to most people? I mean, it reached a tipping point over the last 2.5 years for sure. That's now, it accelerated. There are still people that are hooked in and just can't get out of it. But it is technology that we have to use to empower ourselves, like Tarpley says here.
Technology, once again, is that avenue of upward mobility that would allow somebody to challenge your status as an oligarch, right?
The Financial Times of London writer, well, he's a foreign editor, who wrote Now for World Government, saying, yeah, we're authoritarian, yeah, we were secret, it's for your own good, we know best. He's here today. The only press that's here are people that literally say, I want authoritarian world government. He actually wrote that. He said, yes, we're secret, yes, we're authoritarian, because we know best. At the top of the pyramid, it's a neo-feudalistic fascist model that uses socialism on the ground to communalize and get people dependent. So it's like a false socialism. But the public thinks they're buying into it as a way to lift up the poor and stuff, but it's really designed to implode societies and to create a post-industrial world controlled by them.
We are here to let them know that their world government has been identified, and they thought they'd implode the world economy to bring in a worldwide police state, but instead it's going to bring them down.
We are going to be in very serious trouble because we are ill-informed, unread, undisciplined, and have been taught to bow down and curtsy before royalty.
If you're an oligarch, you say, I get to rule. Why should you get to rule? Are you smarter than this guy over here? I have a technician who can do things you can't do. Why should you rule? What is it about you? Well, my family, my antiquity. Maybe that's not good enough. If we have a society where people believe in technology and science, they will not tolerate oligarchical domination.
But the problem is, it's whose science, right? You look at Nazi science, you look at the Office of Hygiene, and you look at the hijacking of the word science. We talked about those buzzwords earlier in the film, right? The Bernaysian talking points of safe and effective, all in this together, alone together. All those things. They don't have to be based in reality. I love Webster, but he's right. If we actually did have a harmonious relationship with science that was generally utilized to empower the people, we wouldn't have a problem. We would have a merit-based society where really the sky would be the limit. The problem with that is that you don't get to have kings and queens and generational oligarchs in a predator class dominating society on the way to what they believe is a transhumanist future where they have godlike powers. And we get into it in this film. This is the film, man. This is Bilderberg, geoengineering, bioengineering, and some solutions at the end. I wish people had listened to those solutions.
If we don't stand up and take the responsibility for ourselves to stop this globalist agenda, we're looking at a world where our children don't understand what freedom is. We're already seeing that world now. The children born post 9/11 don't understand what it's like to live without the NDAA, without the Patriot Act.
You have left your government in the hands of other people to take care of things for you because you're too busy with your everyday life. Well, when you leave your personal business and your children and your life in the hands of someone else to take care of you, they're going to take care of you all right. Whatever decisions they make, they're going to take care of themselves, not you. Because you left yourself in their care, they will decide what you will eat. They will decide what you will wear. They will decide if you will have a job or not. I will decide how much you will make. And you can bet that I'm going to make 1,000 times more than you do.
In Bilderberg, we have an organization that goes back to 1954. Now, that original generation is mostly gone, obviously. Prince Bernhard of Holland was able to hang on until 1975, when he was knocked out of the picture by the Lockheed scandal, which was a story of bribes that had been paid to foreign politicians.
The reason they want to be secret is the Lockheed scandal in the 70s. They're really worried because they're doing a bunch of arms deals in there.
It was kickbacks on the Hercules C-130 transport plane that had been sold all over the world. Right now, what we see is that some of the most famous people in Bilderberg are now getting on in years, right? We have David Rockefeller, who has been financing, in particular, the North American side, but really the whole thing.
David Rockefeller passed on. You see right next to him, Henry Kissinger. Guess what? Can't believe it, but a decade later, he's there.
With his money and his deep checkbook.
David Rockefeller, who many argue is one of the top globalists in the world, although aging and maybe on his last legs, has really been the face of the Rockefeller family and globalization for quite some time. In fact, in his own book, he states that he and his family are part of a secret cabal that is actually trying to achieve one world government outside of the best interests of the United States.
I mean, it's right in his book. It literally says it. You know, you wish you could make this stuff up, but it's right here. Let's, read it for the people. A little of it's blocked off. Again, you watch the whole thing uncensored. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure, one world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it. He literally admitted it. But hey, a Rockefeller Foundation has foundation at the end. They're tax-free. They're the best thing since breakfast. They love us.
Why should David Rockefeller, a certifiable cretin, get to dominate the political choices of the political party? Henry Kissinger is now going around in a wheelchair. As far as I can see, also quite aged.
Many people are unaware of the Kissinger-Rockefeller connection. Now, Kissinger, of course, is an ex-Secretary of State, a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, somebody who's been in the public eye for the better part of 40 or 50 years. Now, Rockefeller meets Kissinger at the Council on Foreign Relations and is extremely impressed. So much so that he gets Kissinger to head up the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. David and Henry have maintained that relationship over several decades since.
I never mentioned the U.S. government or the administration. I don't even use that word. There is an invisible government whose visible head is the Council on Foreign Relations in Manhattan.
And the way that they achieve their goals is they have 20 to 25 central members that go every single year to this conference. And each year, another 100 or so are recruited.
You have the very cream of the banking industry and the CEOs of various huge multinational corporations talking to elected members of parliaments from around Europe and America.
This is the richest people in the world meeting with key national security, NSA people, MI6, European security heads, Von Rompuy of the European Central Bank System and the European Union Council. They're all here. They control the issuance of money and credit. This is it. Top of the pyramid.
The Canadian connection is huge. Of course, former prime ministers, we have Pierre Trudeau and John Chrétien and Paul Martin and Stephen Harper. Harper was there in 2003. Just 3 years later, he becomes Prime Minister of Canada. Alan Gottlieb, former Canadian ambassador to the U.S., is also a member. We asked him about it. He denied it.
In 1996, you were at a Bilderberg meeting, and also there was Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin.
I don't know if I was at that meeting. I've only been to a few of them.
Bilderberg attendees have included Bill Clinton, Ben Bernanke, Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' wife and co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, David Cameron, Rick Perry, and members of the media such as Peter Jennings and Charlie Rose.
We see that there is a long line of people out there that are using their intellect to manipulate the masses with what's essentially mind control, public relations, propaganda, whatever you want to call it.
Peter Manfredge of the CBC's The National is also a Bilderberg member. Heather Reisman, CEO of Chapters and Indigo Books, is in attendance, and she obviously can exert a certain influence over the way people think just by owning the amount of bookstores and magazines and newspapers. She's editor of Huffington Post Canada.
Then we have former Bilderberg attendee Sean Parker. He eventually went on at a young age to get recruited by the CIA for a web crawler program that he built. Somewhat of an entrepreneur, Forbes 400, co-founder of Napster, went on to become first president of Facebook. His newest thing is Spotify, which is an attempt to fix what Napster broke. So this guy's kind of profiteering off of both ends, and when put together with the right forces, with the right people, he has been known to be an agent of disruption.
Why should Pamela Harriman, another certifiable cretin, the late now, dominate the Democratic Party with her husband, Avril Harriman, yet another of these stupid, rich oligarchs, right? The stupid sons and daughters of rich men. The Count d'Avignon, Zbigniew Brzezinski, somewhat better shape, right? Spry, but also not immortal. Who is going to carry on this oligarchical tradition, and in what form, in the coming years? And here I would look in particular at Peter Thiel, Thiel, actually born in Germany, but now operating primarily in the United States. He is the co-founder of PayPal, became a billionaire through that. He is also a member of the Facebook.
By the way, that was him in the Muscardoo. Here he is with the Facebook. Remember, we have a representative from Palantir there this year as well.
Board of directors, meaning that he has a fiduciary responsibility, I think, to some of the people who lost a lot of money on that abortive Facebook IPO. And he has this plan to create extraterritorial offshore colonies. So I can only speculate what that means. Slavery, prostitution, narcotics, certainly no minimum wage, no health plan, no child labor laws, you name it. In other words, the destruction of civilization as we've known it. You can have Hewlett-Packard fire 30,000 people, as they're doing, and you can say the remnants and the scraps can be moved to Thiel's offshore islands. You bring in programmers from India. You can actually use such a place to begin to undercut the salary levels, to drag down the economy in the continental United States even further than it already is.
So that's right there, the intro to Shade the Motion Picture. If you like that, please watch all my documentary films. Share them. They're free online. You can't really buy them anywhere. What you can do is download them in MP4 format, and you can share links. Shade is now on Rumble. You can support me with the links down below, guys. But you look at this, and you look at a guy like Thiel, and you say, oh, that's too far. No one would ever do something like that. Well, Thiel, let's type it in there. Peter Thiel, and he tried to do a, what was it? A herpes vaccine. I don't even want to see the word. But, you know, he had offshore testing of these different, shots and sidestepped U.S. safety rules back in 2017. So look, these people are cavalier, to say the least. And you've seen how I've covered them in the past. So one more time through, we're on Rumble, we're on Podbean, we're on Rockfin. We get suspended here all the time. Odyssey has backed us up. The documentary film we were just going over is Shade the Motion Picture. Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, also very important. Loose Change, Final Cut, and Fabled Enemies. Watch them. Share them with people. Thumbs them up. Subscribe. Share. Email someone. Tell people to take a look at this info. And consider buying me a coffee, because it's not about left or right. It is about right and wrong. And the people meeting right now, they're looking to do right by them and their ideology, but in my opinion, wrong to the whole of humanity. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.